Alright, so today I think we're going to be going over all the stuff that you thought you were going to hear about last time, you're going to actually hear about this time. I do want to kind of just maybe review what we talked about. So when you start dealing with UX design and dealing with products, especially software products, interactive products, you also you really need to keep a holistic point of view, because you're not just designing the look and the feel, as some people would put it. You guys really need to think of yourselves as designers of an entire experience, from the features of a software product to the actual use of that product. It's important that you guys don't allow yourself just to get pigeonholed into just being the person that makes it pretty. You really need to be design thinkers and apply your way of viewing the world into the entire product development process. So we started talking about an estate application, estate sale application. We talked about some of the pain points that people have in going to these estate sales. We talked about some of the opportunities maybe to make some money with this application. We kind of took a little bit of an entrepreneurship point of view, asking what is the problem to solve. It's always a designer's job. What is the problem that we're solving? So now that we did all that exploration work, that kind of upfront work, today we're going to focus on learning how to actually bring our ideas into existence. So we're going to continue on with this estate sale application, and we're going to basically be doing a lot of wireframing today. So the UX designers are famous for wireframing. It's a very time-consuming, yet rewarding and fun design process. So that all being said, I want to introduce you guys to my friend Alex, who's in the back. Alex, can you raise your hand? Stand up maybe? Okay. So I worked with Alex for a while, and he's joining us today because he's going to help me out by walking around and helping you guys out if you have a problem as we're going through this, because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in Illustrator. We're going to also be using an application called InVision, which is a clickable mock-up prototyping tool. And there might be some things where I'm going a little bit fast, or you're maybe a couple steps behind. Alex is here to kind of help you guys out and to give some assistance so that you don't fall behind, and also so that I don't have to stop and help everybody, or help out a couple people and keep the rest of the group from moving forward. So actually, Alex, do you want to come down here maybe so that you can see people that have a problem? Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Who has Illustrator? Raise your hand if you got Illustrator on your computer. Perfect. All right, you're gonna need that a lot today. So go ahead and fire that up. And did anybody check out the Facebook page where let's see here, where I posted a bunch of documents this morning? Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you didn't see it, go ahead and go to the Facebook page, the UX UI workshop page, and then download the first 3 files on that last post that I put up, because you're going to need those. So just to be clear, these things right here. These guys. Alright, so I'm going to go through and explain what all these are. Okay, so this simple requirements documentation. So we're really actually cutting quite a few corners here, but we need to at least get access to this thing and kind of go over it. So we have a simple navigation that we need to deal with. So we're going to be focusing on iOS. iOS obviously is the iPhone's operating system. It has its own design patterns and design language that it employs. if you ever design an application for Android and iOS, you need to get familiar with the design patterns that both of these platforms use. They're very different. If I was to kind of recap, Android is a little bit more influenced by the web, so it has a little bit of more of a web feel as far as a mobile operating system is concerned, whereas iOS is very much a true redesign from scratch. A long time ago it came out, obviously, but it was truly rethought of as a mobile operating system. Now, the thing about the iOS, which we're going to be focusing on today, is it has this thing at the bottom called a tab bar. This part here is called the tab bar. It's like the most fundamental design pattern of iOS. And what this thing looks like is usually has 5 buttons here. It's got some kind of icon, and then some text underneath it that describes what this does. Now, this is called your main navigation. It's the top level of your navigation. Now, kind of some interesting background is that maybe about 3 years ago, there was this new thing that came out, and some developers who just sort of didn't like to use this, because the problem was that if you had more than 5 main areas of your website, of your application, you had to take this slot here and call it more, right? And so when you click that, then it made this area here have a bunch of, this pen's not that great. Can you guys see this okay? No? Man? Alright. Is it? Or, okay. Is that better? Wait, I killed one light, which was probably good. Whoa, I turned on a bunch. I don't know how happened. Can you guys see this better now? Because I can draw on my laptop. If you guys want me to draw like in Photoshop, I can just sketch it out too. Good enough?
Yeah, that's good.
Alright, thanks. I just need somebody to say yes or no. Alright, so what happened was that if you had more than 5 seconds, you had to make this this tab here become the more button. And then when you clicked on that, you had to get then, obviously you had a chance for more options right here. So this is more navigation for your application. So this guy here, this tab bar, very, very critical piece. Now, going back to what I said, a couple developers, I forget what app did this first, but they said, we don't like this. It's kind of clunky. So what happened is they came up with this thing which is now notoriously known as the hamburger. Does anybody know what the hamburger is? You heard that before? No, okay. You've seen it before, I know. Right? Does it look familiar?
Yeah.
The 3 like little things. So what happens when you click this thing? Somebody remind me, what happens when you click that? Yeah, that's right. So a menu slides in usually, or this thing slides to the left, or to the right rather, and then it exposes a menu here, okay? So here's your, this would be like your top navigation now. Right? Why was this better? Does anybody guess why this was better?
More space, more buttons.
Exactly. You could have a list of, 20 things here, and it could just go on. Of course, you didn't want to overdo it, right? But the hamburger was kind of nice because you didn't have just 4 main slots and a 5th one that you had to then make a more button. You could have, many items here that you could have on your top navigation. Now, does anybody remember when Facebook had this style, this hamburger style? Yeah, it was about maybe 6 months ago that they changed it from the hamburger. So Facebook started off with this style, like many years ago. Then they switched to this hamburger style, and now what does Facebook use these days? Say it nice and loud. Exactly. They went back to this. Now, why do you think that they went back to this kind of bottom menu navigation? Anybody want to just throw a guess out? What? The phones got too big? Interesting idea. This was before iOS had the iPhone 6. So it wasn't quite, so that wasn't quite an issue, although that is now a very good reason to have this, though. Anybody else want to take a guess?
It's more convenient than the sign.
Okay, it's more convenient, so it's more accessible. Great guess too. And the answer is very close to that. What they found is they have all these metrics built into the application, so they can see how I'm using Facebook, right? What they found is that when they had this hamburger button up here, people didn't really go in here that often. They didn't really use the groups, right? So this whole workshop is basically a Facebook group, right? People weren't going into here because it wasn't out. So what they did is they brought, the top 4 things out to here. They added the more button back again, and what they found is that the usage of the different areas of Facebook went through the roof, and it was all because there was buttons out for people to explore. And when you put it behind a hamburger, you're kind of hiding it. And when you hide something, people don't see it. And as a result, oftentimes they don't use it unless they're looking for something. So the usage of Facebook went up. And of course, Facebook's really interested in usage because what does usage mean for Facebook? More money, exactly. Because more ads, more money, more usage. It's all connected into this product strategy. Okay, which is kind of similar to what we were talking about last time. So anyways, we need to come up with a main navigation for our estate application, okay? So we're going to deal with this part first, okay? Now, does anybody want to suggest, based on the requirements document, what we should probably put down in here? Anybody want to guess? What should we do? You see, blah, 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 tab, and you go down the requirements document, blah, 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 tab. So let's fill this in. What do you think it's going to be? You guys have that open? Just take a guess. Sales, thank you, yay. All right, so sales. We're gonna have a tab called sales. Okay, these are gonna be the sales that are happening. Okay, the estate sales. What's another one?
Search.
Search. Okay, search is gonna be in the sales tab, but keep going.
Settings.
All right, settings. That's definitely gonna be one of them. So we're gonna put settings here. Actually, I'm gonna list them out first. So, sales, settings. What else? Well, account. Okay, what else?
Favorites.
Favorites. Okay, what else? Anything else?
Property
Detail.
posts,
What?
updates.
Updates? Okay, so like a feed?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, feed. Alright, what else? Anything else you guys can think of or you see in the document? I didn't put everything in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with these 5 right now, okay? Another one that I actually want to add one more thing, which is people. Okay, what I realized after we had this conversation, we didn't really leverage the social graph of this application. A lot of these people, they like to see who got the best deal or to make friends and follow. So I was thinking that we probably need to have that kind of following and people that I'm following and people who are following me. It's very, very common in almost every single application like this. So we need to have that kind of built in too. So we have to have a people's tab as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's have the feed here. Okay, feed is usually the one, the tab that almost every single application drops you into. Why do you think that most applications land you in the feed? Why is that important, you think?
Recent updates?
Recent updates, exactly. And then what does that do psychologically to you, this idea of this feed? Think about why Facebook drops you into a feed every single time. Do you guys get like a little dopamine rush to your brain, right? A little like tingling going on, right? It's probably so like subtle these days because you're used to it, but that's actually what happens. It makes you think that there's something happening in this app. It's not like some like, okay, who didn't dust around this app? You know, it's not like there's cobwebs and dust all over the place. This thing is alive and active. There's people that are here doing something. So that's why a feed is very important psychologically to an application or to the user, is that it makes you feel like, wow, I want to be part of what's happening here. So a feed is very, very critical. Okay? Now, I think that sales should be in second, and I think you might agree, because that is the main thing that people are coming in here to do, right? They're going to try and find a sale. The third thing, what do you guys want to put in slot number 3? What do you feel like?
Favorites?
Favorites? I like favorites. Okay. What's like the famous icon for a favorite?
A heart?
Okay, star and heart. One of those two. You guys can decide which one you want to do for yours. I'm going to do a star because I like stars and all that, but yeah, it's usually a heart or a star. You can't use a like. Do you guys know that? Facebook put a patent on that damn thing, so nobody's allowed to use a like anymore. Facebook only. They have Swole. It's like a proprietary way of favoriting or liking something or hearting something. All right. What about slot number 4? What do you guys want to put there?
People?
People? Okay. Yeah. People sounds good. That one's. Now, I think, if I'm correct, does Instagram, if you go to like your no, they have just a profile one, just a look. Okay. So yeah, some applications, they'll put your profile under the people tab, but other places they actually separate it out. So I think that we're probably going to put our account information under the people tab, but we're also going to have the chance to find people there too. But let's see how that goes. And last of all, we obviously now need to make this a more button, right? Because we still have settings we need to get in there, and settings is going to have a lot of different stuff. What else? What else? Yeah, maybe we can just make this settings. Let's kind of keep this open-ended, right? All right, so now that we got that kind of started, let's go ahead and someone to see here. Okay, does everybody have all the Illustrator documents now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to get us set up. Now, what I'm going to show you is kind of a way of doing this that I personally set up my documents. I know Alex sets his up a little bit different, but ultimately it's all about the same fundamentals are all there. So whenever you set up an Illustrator document for iOS, you have to really kind of think about a couple of things. So go ahead and go to File, New, and if you look here, if you go to Devices, okay, you're going to see that they have all these devices here. They have iPad Air, iPad Mini, iPhone 5S. And what they do is they just basically know the pixel dimensions of all these devices, so that if I hit iPhone 5S, it's going to make it 640 by 1136. Now what that means there is that's the screen resolution of an iPhone 5S. If you go to an iPad Mini, it's 768 by 1024. So as you guys get more and more into this, into UX design, some of these sizes become very, very familiar with you, because a lot of things are very common. Now check this out. What is this? Oops. Can you guys read this? Is that clear enough?
Yeah.
Okay. What is this resolution here? 1020 by 1920, or 1080 by 1920? Does that sound familiar to you guys?
PhD.
HD, right? That's the resolution of your high definition TV. It's also the resolution of a Nexus, what is this, Nexus 5? And I think the new iPhone 6 Plus is also this dimension, which is 1080 by 1920. Okay, so these numbers keep coming up the longer that you get involved in UX design. So anyways, we're gonna go for this iPhone 5S, and this is gonna be in portrait. So I just want you to go ahead and just create, well, let's not create the document yet. All right, let's add 10 artboards. So put 10 artboards, and then let's make the distance between them 320. Okay, and then this part's important. Make sure that you have 10 columns. I don't want to have a bunch of rows. I just want to have one row with multiple columns, just for the sake of clarity for our discussion today. All right, and what else here? Okay, see this thing, align new objects to pixel grid, turn that on. That's a whole nother discussion in and of itself, but just turn it on for now. And this can be selected here, grid by row. You could also do this one arranged by row, but just click grid by row, because you have 10 artboards and 10 columns, so it's just going to be straight across. Okay, everybody got that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so click OK. Now what we have to do is set up our grid for these artboards. So I think mine's actually set up correctly. So let me zoom in here. Okay, this is probably a good time that Alex, can you sit there? So that when somebody raises their hand, you can see them. Alright, Alex is really smart.
Yeah,
No, sit down, man.
Well, how long are you to sit with?
Well, don't you have your laptop?
Yeah, but I can get on the internet, so it's not really much.
You can jump on my iPad mini has
I do it with phone at home, so services. Why not?
okay. Be weird up there like that. Alex is a really smart guy. I'm kind of scared. If I wasn't older than him, I'd be intimidated by him because he's a up and coming UX designer. You're supposed to say thank you or something.
Thanks. I don't know if that's true, so.
Alright, so let's look at this grid, okay? So does everybody know how to turn on your grid? You just basically do, what is it, command, what is that, apostrophe, whatever, quotes. Anyways, turn that on, and if it doesn't look right to you, you guys should have, well, let's just go to preferences here. So go to Illustrator, Guides and Grid, okay? And make the settings the same as right here. So grid line every 80 pixels and then subdivision 10. Sound good? 80 pixels, subdivision 10. And you should have, what is that, 8 boxes across with 10 subdivisions. Does you guys have that? Did it line up?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Alright, next thing you need to do is you need to go ahead and go to your layers palette. Let's see. It's weird working on this small screen here. But alright, so we need to make this this layer here, let's call this one background. And let's make another one on top of it, and let's call this one working. And let's make another one on top of that, and let's call this one iPhone. I feel like I'm missing one. Okay, let's just go with that for now. Alright, so what happens, guys, is you're going to want to lock down some of these layers as you work, because You're gonna have things that are on top of your working layer so that you can kind of get a preview of how it looks. And, but you're only gonna really wanna work on one layer or multiple working layers. You can obviously create multiple working layers, but you definitely wanna have a background layer and a top iPhone layer so that you can display like the actual iPhone on top of your work to get a feel of how it looks. Okay, there's a couple other things that I want to share with you. I actually have a built-out document here, so let me just open it up. Oh yeah, you need a guides layer. So this is the same document. My colors are a little bit different, but you need a guides layer, and that's about it. Okay, so this is my template, my personal template that I use. I'm actually going to share this to let me share this to Facebook real quick so you guys can have this starting point too. So, wait, I thought I could share documents here.
You can write a post and then hopefully
What was that?
try writing posts, maybe? Yeah. Oh, no.
Wait, I know for a fact I just saw documents here. Like, yeah, look, it's right here, that file.
Well, this is the group, the other one is in the back.
Oh, thank you. Boy. Color me embarrassed. Alright. How did you know that?
The date on the item.
Okay. Alright, so that should work. Is it going to post? Oh, I'm not connected. Okay, hold on a second.
Do you need the internet connection for you?
Yeah, it might be helpful, but let's get this posted real quick. It's that one, right? Oh gosh. That's your username? Okay, give that part submitted. Oh. Can you also help Alex get logged in too? That's okay. It seems to be working. Okay guys, it's up there now. So go ahead and download that Illustrator file. That has things all set up the way that I usually go about it. Don't be shy. I need Alex to do some work here. Okay, so is everybody okay?
Why?
I think it didn't open properly because I have a different version of Illustrator.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can save it down. Who's having a hard problem opening it up? Okay. What version are you guys using?
Maybe it's the
Anybody on 5? Okay, got some 5 people. Anybody on 4? All right. Okay, let's see if that works for you guys. Everybody who has iOS 6 should be able to open that too. I don't think we're doing anything crazy that it wouldn't understand how to do it. You guys good now? You good? Okay, who's got 5? Did it open up? Did it work? You have IS or CS5? Yeah? No? Okay, great. Okay. Who doesn't have the file? Raise your hand. Okay, what's the problem? You need help? Alex, you're the first customer. Alright, we're moving on. Are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Yes, alright, great. Alright, so guys, here's the deal. Obviously just turn off your grid, your guides. You want to keep your guides on one layer, you want to keep your iPhone here on another layer. Oftentimes if you want to preview what you've done, you want to go here to View, and where is it? Hide Artboards, where's it at? Hide Artboards right here. So that kind of gives you more of a less artboardy look, okay? So I'm going to go back and show artboards. Alright, now if you guys notice, I want to show you one thing and explain it real quick. Do you guys notice that the top of my artboard, see how the AT&T, this thing here is called the status bar, okay? It's a very, very important part of iOS. The status bar is, if you look at it, it's above the artboard. Okay, the reason why I'm doing that is because we're going to be uploading these to InVision, and InVision has this really cool feature where you can create a clickable mock-up on your iPhone. You can click around on it, almost like it's a real application. It even has some slide effects, which are really cool. But the point is that the real status bar on your phone is present when you're running this mock-up on your phone. Okay, so if that makes sense. So the reason why we have it up above is so that we don't want it to be exported out with the PNG of this artboard. We want to keep that, we want to keep it in our minds while we're working, but we don't want to actually export out with the rest of our design here. Okay? So let's go. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the iPhone overlay, and I'm going to turn back all my guides here. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get that tab bar along the bottom. Okay? Now you guys should have these files. This file here, if you downloaded it from before, but I want you to focus on this one. Okay, this one's like a little bit more wireframey, which is better. better for our purposes. Let me just put this here. Okay, so as you look around, you're going to notice that there's down here, voila, our tab bars. Now, I don't want you to use this one here. I want you guys to use this one right here, okay? So go ahead and select that guy, copy it, and I want you to go to our file, which is not this one. Okay, and then I want you to go down to the bottom of the first artboard. I want you to do a Command V. Oh, you got to make sure you select the right layer. So you got to go to your working layer. I wasn't on my working layer. I do that mistake a lot. You got to watch out for that. Like, that's why it's good to lock these other ones, so that you can't paste into any other layer except your working layer. Okay, so anyways, go ahead and select your working layer and paste that menu bar into your design here. Alright, now, this is going to make sense in a little bit, but you know, our artboards are really tall because we're going to have a lot of content on these pages, possibly, okay? But what I want you to do is just take that tab bar and put it at the very bottom and just position it so that it's at the 0, let's see, what's the mark? It's at, if you go to the coordinates, it should be at 0, 2, 2400. I gotta turn on the zoom here. Let me just turn on the zoom so you guys can see this. Okay, so this thing here, this tab bar, what I want you to do is I want you to put it at X. You gotta hit this reference point to be the bottom left-hand corner of that bar, and put it the X coordinate to be 0, and then the Y coordinate to be 2400. This is a really critical part of wireframe, is understanding how these X and Y coordinates work. How many of you guys are familiar with how all this reference points and all this stuff works? Raise your hand. Okay, good. For you guys who aren't familiar with it, just try to stay with me as much as possible so that you can learn how to work with these things. It's very important with wireframe. So anyways, now if you did it correctly, you should be basically perfectly lined up to the bottom here. And what I want you to do is go ahead and change the name of these tabs to the names that we have over there. So the first one is going to be feed. The second one is favorites, I thought, or something like that. No, that was the third one. This one's sales. Favorites. This one was people. So more. Oops. Tabs. How you guys doing today? Following along? Fast. Nailed it. Wow, you did. Okay. You did. You okay? Good. Alright, here. You did reference point. Bottom right-hand corner. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Now, so what we need to do is, this thing is going to be on every single one of our artboards, right? So we need to make it into a symbol. Does anybody know what a symbol does in Illustrator? Like, okay, let me explain. So what happens is that you guys, when you do these wireframings, things change all the time. So you want to save yourself a lot of heartache and basically be able to have your changes propagate across your entire document as much as possible. So what happens is we're going to eventually put these things on every single one of these artboards, right? This thing's going to be on here. Now what happens is if I don't use a symbol, and the product manager says, hey, we need to put feed on the second one, and we need to put sales on the first one, you're going to have to change that on 10 artboards, okay? We don't want to have to waste our time doing that, right? So what you do is you simply just, let me turn this back. What you do is you go here and you click the item that you want to, the whole piece, it's got to be the entire piece, right? And then you go to the symbols, which is this like, what is that, a club? You click that, and so I had already made the iPhone into a symbol, and I also made the background into a symbol already. But if you click on that and you say new symbol, it's going to ask you, well, what do you want to call it? We're going to call this thing tab bar. Okay? Now you don't have to do this, but I always put it on graphic. It doesn't really do anything, but it makes me feel better. And then we want to put the registration down at the bottom left corner because this symbol is always going to be at the bottom of our artboard, so it makes life easier if we put the registration at the bottom left corner. You can't change this. I don't think you can change this after you've set it. But we do want to have the align to pixel grid. It's going to say, you're about to edit a symbol. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes, we do. So if I change this now to sales and this one to feed, it'll now propagate across the entire document. You got Okay, you should have this symbol here in your tab bar. You got a background tab bar. And when you click on one of them, it's going to show you this warning. You can say don't show again if it bothers you. It kind of bothers me. And then you just change it. I'm going to change it back. Change that to feed. And we're good. Anybody here not get it? You get it? Got it? Got it? Thumbs up? Thumbs up? Okay, good. All right. Who didn't get it?
Are you guys? What's the hotkey on? Never mind.
To paste it in all artboards?
It's in the base, in the editing.
Oh yeah, okay, I should show you. Right. So this is that command, paste on all artboards. Sorry, I always show the shortcuts, but I should tell you guys this. It's right here. Okay. All right. So we're gonna move on. Okay, so we need to do this. We need to go in here and now we need to name these artboards, okay? So this artboard's, the name is artboard 1. We need to change that. Okay, now there's a kind of a certain way that I usually do this. First is by chapter. So we can call this thing main nav, okay? And then the screen for this artboard here is going to be, what's our first one again? On the far left, what is it? What?
Feed.
Oh yeah, feed, okay. So I'm going to call this one main nav dash feed. Okay, I'm going to copy that so I don't have to, oops. Okay, the second one, let's go to the second artboard. And so it's main nav slash favorites. Third one is called main nav dash.
Like sales.
sales.
Oh,
and
sales
then-
is second, you're right. My bad. Should just. Okay, so once you have all 5 of those artboards named, we can move on to the next step. Okay, so the next step is, I'll give you guys a couple more minutes here. You know, somebody should make some kind of way that you can like say you're finished, like a cone or something, or something that you flip or flip up, so that, you know, like if all the paddles go up or something like that, then I can
Do what you do in elementary school, you like put your head down like this.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Can everybody put your head down when you're done? That would really help me
Sorry
out.
for that suggestion.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Is that cool with everybody?
Yes.
All right, great. All right, so go ahead and go back to the, what is it? This kind of gray wireframe area. And I want you guys to go up to the navigation bar section. Okay? Now, this nav bar section is really, really important. It's like the second most important part of designing an iOS app after the tab bar or the hamburger. Okay? The nav bar is very, very critical. All right? So let's kind of look into this and why it's the case. Basically, the title, a very important part of user experience is you have to tell the user where they're at all times. If you don't have a title on your screen, then people don't know necessarily if they like stand up and walk away from their computer and they come back. They need to have a title on top of their screen so that they know where they're at. It's obvious. It's kind of obvious, but some people, they kind of cut this title out of their design because it can kind of make things a little bit more cluttered looking. Sometimes you have to not have a title there for the sake of simplicity, but 90% of the time you should have a title at the top of your page, no matter whether you're doing web design, iOS design, Android, it doesn't matter. So that all being said, let's go ahead and grab this one right here, this top one, the title and the action, and go ahead and cut that, or copy it rather, and take it back to your document. And go ahead and paste it on the first artboard. If you guys are getting, if you're by accident copying in guidelines when you copy and paste from that document, make sure and delete those guidelines because they're going to screw you up if you don't. Okay, so I'm going to copy this guy, and I'm going to place it at the top of my artboard. So this too is a great chance to use this reference and coordinate tool here. So I'm going to change the reference point to the top left corner. I'm going to make the x-axis 0 and the y-axis 0. And that should bring it up perfectly in the top corner of my grid and of my artboard. Okay, now this component here is a little bit different than the other one that we were working on at the bottom, because this one is gonna change a lot depending on what screen you're on. It's gonna have different buttons in the top left corner and the top right corner. And the title's obviously gonna be different on every single page. So this one we're not gonna make into a symbol, but we are going to just basically have this working piece, and we're going to copy it, and then actually you should cut it, because if you paste on all artboards, you're gonna paste another one on top of this, and you're gonna have two, which is gonna screw you up. So I always cut it, and then Command Option Shift V on all my artboards, or you can go to the here and paste on all artboards too. And then I want you to go ahead and go to the title and switch the titles to the appropriate section. So another thing that you can do on all these artboards is you can wipe out the back button. We're not going to need that on any of these, so at least from what I can foresee. So you can just go in here and then just delete these pieces here. This is a good time to either use the direct selection tool, this is the white one, because you can select things within the group. Some designers, it really bothers them to have to click in multiple times to get through the grouping and then delete it. But if that bothers you, you can just use the white direct selection tool and just click into the group and then just delete these items. Okay. If you finish that, I want you to go ahead and go to InVision and make a free account, because we're gonna, even though we haven't done much except just kind of create a simple navigation, we're gonna go ahead and get our feet wet with InVision and upload these 5 screens and make it clickable. So, because we have enough to at least get that part started. So, if you need a little bit more time, hurry up, because you're gonna need that InVision account quick. I like this card. That was lovely.
One last up for you.
Yeah. Anybody need any help? Okay. Is everybody there? Everybody done? Okay. All right. So, you guys get InVision signed up for? Everybody signed up for that? Raise your hand if you're signed up. All right. Good enough. All right. Let's go to File, and I want you guys to go down to File, Export. Okay. So on your desktop, I want you to make a new folder, and I want you to call it State Sale Exports. Okay. create that. Alright, for our settings, we're going to use artboards and we're going to use a range of 1 through 5. Okay, because we have 5 screens that we're actually concerned about, that we've worked on, so we're going to export all 5 of those. And we're going to make them go into the state sale exports. One thing that you want to watch out for is up here. So, put as a save as, I probably should have saved my document already, but it doesn't matter. I want you guys just to put the word ES in here. Maybe lowercase, ES with lowercase would be better. Right? This is a kind of a weird thing about exporting. What Illustrator is going to do is going to take this prefix, it's going to turn this into a prefix, take your artboard name and make it the suffix and combine those two together. And that's going to be the name of your exported file. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So go ahead and make the range 1 through 5, click export, change this to, well, let's just keep it type optimized. And the background, we have a background. One of the things to watch out for is if we didn't have that great background on our artboard, we would have to make this to white, but because we have that great background, we can keep this to transparent because that great background is going to show up. So go ahead and click OK. It's my son right there. My son started texting me. He has an iPad, he takes selfies. And then he said, best dad in the world. And I said, best son in the world. But I don't know if I put that on the right side of the, but it's okay. Alright, let's go ahead and go to InVision now. Well, actually, let's check on our folder real fast. So go to desktop, estate sale exports. Does everybody have one that looks like this? I probably should have had us use lowercase on these artboards, but whatever. Or maybe we should have made these uppercase after all. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to keep everything lowercase when you make file names. Just kind of heads up on that. Does everybody have this? Raise your hand. Got it? Okay, great. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back into InVision. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a new project. Everybody found that, right? Let's call this project Estate Sale. Oops. Estate Sale. And then we're going to make the type to be, alright, iPhone portrait. Alright, and create the project. Alright, so we have obviously this drag and drop, so if we go back to the Finder and then we grab our 5 screens and drop them into here, it's going to upload them. Alright, so Alex and myself and a lot of other designers have had long conversations about the interface on InVision. It's pretty good, but as your project gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it gets really unwieldy. So I'm going to kind of point out some of the nuances because it's kind of an interesting topic. But that all being said, let's go ahead and go into our feed. This is, mine came up second here, but let's go ahead and start with our feed because it's the farthest left one. Okay, and you can kind of see that there's a problem here. We got this bar. The status bar is on top of the nav bar. So the first thing we need to do is go down here to this. We need to go to this configuration gear at the bottom of the screen. Click that, and then say my design starts below the status bar. And And that should fix that problem. And hit save. And then your should look like that now. Okay. Now, this thing here, there's like 4 main areas of InVision. You want to go to build mode, which is the second one here. On that. And that's going to show you your entire file, your entire export. I want you to go to the bottom and then see where it says fixed footer. I want you to go and drag this up to, I think it's 100 pixels, if I remember correctly. Do you know if it's 100 or 99? Okay. Alright, so go ahead and click on that. And then I want you to go to the top and bring this down to 88. This should be 88. You can also go in here and just change the number manually too. Yeah, Alex, is there a way to make the fixed footer propagate across multiple exports?
Not that I know.
You have to do it simply. Alright. Okay, so if you go back to the preview mode, you should have a fixed footer down here like this. Does everybody have that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can we practice this like 3 times? Okay. Say yes. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. We don't even have to practice 2 more times. It's so good. All right. So let's go back to here, and now we're gonna build out all the hotspots. I bet some of you guys are so smart that you're already working on this. So what we need to do is we need to just click here, and we're gonna make this hotspot. Usually, kind of make it sort of big-ish, because it's just better if it's more clickable. And then you click on the link to the destination. Now obviously this is going to be our, whoa, did I screw up? I have 2 sales. How funny. Alright, so I have to go back. Watch how fast this is going to be. Watch, check it out. This is how fast a fix like this can take. So I go here, this should have been feed the whole time. Okay, that should now populate through all these, yes. So I click on export, use artboards 1 through 5, make this say ES, go here, export, type optimized, okay. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to overwrite all these screens? And I'm saying, yes, I do want to overwrite these. So those are placed now in my folder. I go back here and I go to the project page and I say upload screens. I go back to the Finder, grab these 5 screens, drop them in, and you see they're overwriting on top of the ones that were uploaded, 5 minutes ago. Okay, so now if I go inside of here, okay, this isn't the one where I did the bottom. It was this one. See? That's pretty fast, right?
Yeah.
All right, so continuing on what we were doing there. So we need to make these buttons. So I'm going to click this one. Is going to go to feed. Okay, now don't go too far ahead, because what you need to do is make sure you click on this include hotspot in template. So click that, and we're going to call this thing, we're going to create a new hotspot, or sorry, a new hotspot template, and we're going to call this one tab nav. And another thing is this one, you have to click this position relative to the bottom of design, or else it's going to get totally screwed up. So just look at these settings right here and make sure that yours is exactly the same. Okay, you guys good?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. Thanks. All right. So continuing on, you just got to make a couple more. Make sure that you click after you select the destination. So this one's going to sales, and include hotspot in template, and it's going to be tab nav. Click save, and go to this one. Hotspot. Does anybody need any help? Is anybody lost?
You still have to do the position relative to bottom of the
Oh, yes. Thank you. Did I get everything else? I need destination. Alright, so this one's favorites. Save. This one I think I forgot. This one I forgot to do position relative. Okay. So now, the last thing that we need to do is go up here to the top, and what this is telling you is it's saying that there's a hotspot template being applied to this screen called V, right? And it says, okay, this hotspot template is tab nav. Okay, that makes sense. Now, there's a weird kind of powerful functionality here. See this like little lightning bolt here? Click on that lightning bolt, and it should open a bottom navigation. And what you do is you're going to say, I want that same template for hotspots to be applied to all of these screens. So I'm just going to click all 5 of them. And now that same hotspot template is going to be applied to all 5 automatically. So then I click done. Now if I go here to, if I go back out to the other pages, you can either go down here to go to another page. You're going to see that that's now on everything. Now the only problem with InVision is that the one thing that doesn't get communicated to all the pages is this stupid part. You have to do this on all the pages, both at the bottom and at the top. So you gotta do this one down to 88, and the other one to 100. So just do that on all 5 pages. Okay, when you're done, you should be able to click down here and make it work. It should change your header there. Anybody have any questions? This is a great time to ask questions. How are you guys doing there? You three. You three right there behind Anastasia. How are you doing? Yeah, you guys are good collaborators, right? You help each other out? Right. Is anybody lost? Or need a little bit of help? Yeah, okay. You lost it? Okay. How you doing?
So in this,
Okay, sure.
well, I mean,
So we got this, pass, going to the right. Because the names are really, you have to make sure you switch the
The first one should
So what I would do is, maybe, scrap all these screens, not that far, and then just like all these, and then trash it, and then re-export out, and then we get all that. Dude, you need to check this out on your phone. So go ahead and go to share. And you can go here to send to mobile, and then put your phone number in there and text it to yourself, and then it will open it up in Safari. It's going to ask you to save it to your home screen. And what it is, it's really just like it's actually a website. I don't know if you guys know that you can save websites to your home screen or web applications. So then it's going to save it to your home screen on your phone. And then when you launch it, it's going to be just like a real website. Or not a website. It's going to feel sort of like a real application. so what happens is you get this screen. I don't know if this is like any hope you guys can see this, but there's this like little thing. It says, okay, so you gotta push this thing right here, and then save, add to home screen, this like little plus icon, and then add, and now that's gonna show up on my home screen right here, and now when I launch it, it's going to be my application. You got to work? Nice. You're feeling good. I can see dopamine's flowing. I can tell. You guys all get it to work? Yeah, all right. You're like, hey man, no problem. I had that like 5 minutes ago. All right, you got it?
I don't know what I'm
Oh, okay. I wonder if it works on an Android. You should try to fire it up on. Do you have an Android phone?
No, I have a dumb phone. Yeah.
How did it turn out? Let me see.
It works.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just spreads it out a little bit. Nice. Did you get to work?
Yeah.
This isn't
Working.
Did it scale it for your phone, or did it just?
Let me take a look.
Do you need help?
Oh, that's actually pretty smart. It just made it the right width, and then the height doesn't really matter because you're small.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He said we can make it. He's coming over.
What's up?
Can you see your status bar? But isn't that the right side? Yeah. Because the one that we have on our templates. Oh. Oh, mine has one too. You might have to like reopen it. Yeah, you just need to go. Just open it up, yeah.
Hey, Alex. Move forward. All right, so the sales part right here, okay? Let's go ahead and go to the document that I put together for us, and let's look at that document again. So here for the sales tab, we need a search. We need to add the ability to add a sale. So let's go ahead and add these two functionalities real quick. So if I go back, we need to make it like a real plus button, but let's just make that into a plus button for right now. It's kind of smallish because it's not the real style, but that's good for now. And then we also need to add a search area underneath it. So what you need to do is you need to go back to this thing, to our kit, and there should be a search button down here. So just copy that. Take it back over to the sales section. Paste it and put it right underneath the nav bar. Okay, this is where pixel perfection really starts coming into play. So, as you can see, if I zoom in really close here, and I go ahead and go here to View, Pixel Preview, okay, you can see that this pixel here really needs to be right there on top of that one. Okay, does that make sense? So the people that put together these UI kits, they're really good at this perfection, this pixel perfection. So we also have to kind of follow suit and make sure that we use it correctly so that our wireframes look nice and tight. There's nothing that's more bothersome to other designers is when you have a mock-up, like these wireframe mock-ups that we're working on, and things jump around. Like if your menu bar is like jumping like little, like 1 or 2 pixels up and down, it's a sign of unprofessionalism that you don't have enough precision to make it really truly pixel perfect. So that's why it's really critical to zoom in and out like what we're doing right here. So make sure that that search bar is lined up perfectly with our nav bar. Okay, so let's go back over to our document. I didn't see a plus button earlier. Does anybody see a plus button anywhere around here? Or like an add? Or I don't know, let me try the other one real quick. Oh, here we go. Alright, if you go to the all contacts one, you got this like blue one. So I'm gonna actually copy, so that I get the placement correct, I'm gonna copy this this blue plus, the title, and I'm even gonna copy the groups too. And I'm gonna copy it, go back to my document here. Now if I want to paste it in place, if I need to select this artboard, I need to select something on this artboard. One of the weird things about working on multiple artboards is when you go to paste and you want it to show up in the exact same spot it was in on some other artboard, which I don't know if it's going to work or not here because it's not coming from one that's the exact same size, so it might not work. But if it is from the same size artboard, you have to select the one that you're pasting onto, or else it may paste it someplace else in your document. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to reposition it. So what I do is I just kind of go here. I'm gonna zoom in close and make sure I get the baseline the same as the title that I'm actually working with. And then another thing that you can do if you're a little bit not sure where it should go left to right, if you just simply align it to the artboard. So to do that, you click here, align to artboard, and then just hit this middle thing, this horizontal alignment button. Oops, I should have grouped it first. Just kidding. So group it, align to artboard, and then center it. Okay, now obviously I'm only interested in this plus button, so I'm going to go ahead and go in here and delete groups and delete that. And now I got my perfectly placed plus button. I'm going to go in here and delete this other one. Okay, who needs me to do that again? Okay, a couple people. I'm going to do it quick. Alright. So, I went into this other document, my kit, grabbed this, this, and this, copied it, brought it back over to here. I'll just do it over on this one. So I hit Command V, and I zoomed in here so I can just get the baseline of this type matched up together. So you can come in here and then just bring it down pixel by pixel until the baseline's perfect with the text that you already had there. And I want to align this because that plus button's not in the right place, obviously, so I need to group this stuff. Command G, go to align to artboard, and then center it, and now it's basically perfectly in place. Obviously, I'm not interested in this groups, so I can delete that. I'm not interested in this stuff. So now that plus button will be perfectly placed now. But that's obviously not the right artboard to begin with, so I'm going to delete it all. Okay, who has the plus button in the search box? Raise your hand. How many people need a couple more minutes? Okay, a couple more people. If you want, you know how to work ahead. You need to look at the requirements list and look at the list view. The next step that we're going to go to
Does anyone need help?
So we're going to start making a list of all these sales that we're going to be able to navigate into. Anybody need any help? Raise your hand. Alex. Okay guys, so we need to make a list view for the sales, okay? And what that basically means is, you guys seen it 100 times if you have an Android or an iPhone. It's basically just a slat, what we call a slat, and there's one sale, and then second sale, third sale. If you ever use Yelp or Zillow or anything that there's a bunch of items, a bunch of records stacked on top of each other, that's what we got to build. Who's ready to move forward? All right, that's about half the people. Does anybody want me to go over anything real fast? No? Okay. All right, so go ahead and go to your document again, your kit. And this part's going to be a little bit tricky, so I want you to look in very carefully what I'm going to do here. All right, we need to get a photo, a date, a location, the number of items for sale at this sale, and the distance from our home. We have to get 5 pieces of information in one little slab. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to that kit. Oops. Hold on. All right, I want you to go to the one that's in color. And I saw a good example of this. Okay, yeah, here it is. If you go down here to this one, this is the bottom of that kit. See this Mercury Intermedia? What I noticed about this is that it is a slat. It's got 3 lines of information. It's got even 5.1 miles. It has an address. So we just need to add a couple more things to this. But the big thing is this icon is not gonna really work for us as far as the picture is concerned. So we gotta swap that out. But let's go ahead and grab the text. So this is all groups. I'm gonna just go ahead and click into it. I'm gonna select, so they have this big piece here. It's a little bit too much for me, so I'm gonna click in it again. I'm gonna grab the icon, the text, and this line that's above it, because I need to know like the distance. And I'm actually grab this line. I don't know if I can grab that one. But I'm gonna grab the line. Grab this part by accident. I don't want that part. So just grab those pieces, copy it. Even if you get a little bit of extra, you can always just delete it when you paste it. So I got some extra stuff here. I guess it wasn't that bad. Okay. So that's how much I got. That's all I need for right now. Okay. Did you guys have a hard time getting this little chunk? Raise your hand if you got it, okay. Alright. Does anybody want me to show you where it's at again? It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom.
It's not letting us select it at all.
What was that?
It's not even letting us select it.
It's not?
When we opened it, like if we have a lower version, it
Oh gosh, you guys are really screwed.
You just have to ungroup everything and release the clipping mask.
Yeah, you have to
Every
click
little
into a
thing
lot
is
of stuff to
clipping
get
mask.
into it, but you can.
Okay.
It just takes a
Do you
little
know how to
longer.
release a clipping mask?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that work for you now?
Yeah, but it doesn't, there's a lot.
I feel sorry for you.
Can you save it in a lower version?
What?
Can you save it in a lower
Oh,
version?
yeah, okay. I can do that. I'll be happy
I
to do
can
that.
do it.
Yeah? Okay, Alex can do that.
Told you he was awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna keep moving on, and then that's gonna show up in the Facebook thing a little bit. All right, one thing I'm concerned about is I'm just gonna go ahead and change over the text because it's white. So I'm going to change this to black, and I'm gonna change this line to black. I think my son just texted me again. How you doing, dude? I'm a little bit concerned that he's starting to call me dude. Alright.
It said it's over there. If you could put yours and make it normal.
Yeah, I had the same problem. Yeah, I had to change this line, right? It was set to overlay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm gonna group this guy and set it to 0.
I just put them both in the group in CS5.
One thing that maybe you guys are experiencing, you have to, if you right click on your ruler here, you need to change this to artboard rulers. That will probably fix a lot of the positioning problems maybe some people are having. So what that does is it sets your ruler to 0, 0 in the corners. Okay, so then this is 0. Just gonna line this guy up. Okay, so this circle is not gonna work, so I'm gonna go ahead and go back into the kit, and I thought I saw a good square. I don't remember where I saw it. It was like the perfect size. Oh yeah, here it is. So, you guys, these UI kits that we're working with, really they're based on Apple's work to create this pattern library. So all we are is just kind of drafting off of the pattern library. All this stuff is very systematically sized so that you have different size squares, but they're really meticulous on how many you can fit in a row or how many you can fit in multiple columns. So if you look at this square right here, it looks like it's just an icon square, but really it can be used for photos too. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this this square here and I'm just going to copy it. It's located in almost like kind of the top middle, like it looks like it's like the 3rd row down. Is it the 3rd row down? Yes, the 3rd row down. It's under the Safari section, if you look for that. So I'm just going to grab this square, and just for reference, I'm actually going to grab the line above it too. So I'm going to grab the square plus the line. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to group it too before too much longer. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Alright, so as you guys can see that the box is quite a bit bigger than the actual icon here. So I'm going to turn on my grid. One thing that we didn't do is we didn't put grid in front. So if you go here to preferences and then go to guides and grid, and then so here it says grids and back, we want to turn that off. So that's under guides and grid. And what that's going to do is it's going to show my grid now on top. can see actually what's going on here. And what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to sort of reposition this a little bit so that the text is going to go over. If you hold down the shift key and then move with the arrows, it goes in increments of 10 pixels at a time. So just a little FYI there, it's kind of handy. A lot of the things that you learn about grid layouts in print design, you can use those techniques here in laying out grid structures for this situation as well for UI design. Okay, there's a lot of details. Obviously, we can go over this a lot and do a lot of things, but we want to keep the show moving. So, basically, okay, I got the name of the title of the sale. The user can input that. Maybe it will be the address. I think, does it make more sense to have it just be like an address, right? Because why would somebody like name it like my amazing estate sale? You're gonna get that kind of garbage titling. You guys ever seen that happen before? So let's actually make the title be the address. So I'm going to say 214 over the road, whatever, Long Beach. Okay, you guys running out of room? So when you have this start happening, what you do is you just put ellipses. Maybe. Okay, so back to that document, I need to put in the dates, so the date's probably really important. So Saturday, October 18th to the 19th. And the number of items, that's kind of important, so we might want to make that a little bit special. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this gray box, I'm going to copy it, and I'm just going to shrink it down to size and then kind of make it like a little tag. Maybe put it like right there in the corner. And then grab this text. We can kind of get a little bit more fast and loose now, so don't worry about like pixel perfection. We're just going to kind of make it quick. Distance from my home, maybe say like 12.6 miles. And number of items, check. Location, check. Dates, check. Photo, check. We got everything that we need for each slat. Okay, so I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm going to copy him, and I'm going to group him, and then I'm going to make him into a symbol. So I'll go here to File, New Symbol, and then I'm going to call this Sales Slat. Position top right. Okay. Alright guys, once that's a symbol, just make a bunch of them, just pull it down, kind of eyeball it a little bit, because we're just gonna move quick, and then just hit Command D and make a lot of them down the page. You guys know how to use Command D?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just make a lot of those that go down the page. It's obviously the same information, but it's okay, it's just a wireframe. Oh, you know what we forgot? We forgot one critical piece. Do you guys ever know what we forgot? Can't believe we forgot this.
Image.
No, we're just gonna keep it blank for now. We forgot the caret. This guy, famous in iOS. This is very, very important. Android, they hate this thing. They hate it. In fact, they say in their design guidelines, do not put a caret on the right side of a row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just edit this one symbol. Once again, this is the power of a symbol. I'm just going to edit the symbol, and I got to go back over here and find a caret real quick. Oh, here we go. Technically don't have to put it in, but it's good. It's good iOS design. There's a certain distance it's supposed to be from the right-hand side, but I'm just gonna just drop it in right now. I don't care so much. Let's move that over a little bit. Okay, so that's now on all of them. One of the good things about these kits is the typography in iOS. The system typography is very, very specific. It's designed by the people at Apple. So it's nice to use these kits because you don't have to redo the typography yourself and try to match it to theirs, because all the hard work has been done through these kits. That's one of the main mistakes I see some new designers doing, is they'll try to just lay out the typography themselves, but it's not going to match the way that the developer makes it, so it looks kind of janky. Also, it doesn't look like it's part of that platform or part of that operating system. So it's kind of an important issue to deal with. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and export this out again. So I'm going to go to File, Export. Go to my state sales project. Click here ES. Use artboards 1 through 5. Export it. Everybody, focus real quick. I guess this is one mistake I should have made, or shouldn't have made, is you need to make sure your screen resolution is 72 ppi. I guess some people by default, yours was set at 300 and that screwed you up. Sorry, I thought everybody's defaulted to 72, that's why I didn't mention it. But make sure your screen resolution is 72 ppi, not 300. So once you get that sales finished up, I want you to go ahead and try and upload it and get it updated in InVision. So now, as you can see, you can now scroll the entire sales that are happening in your location. Oh, one problem I need to change here is, I don't know if I want my search bar to stick or not, but you can look at that too. I guess it should probably stick. Okay, who needs help? You guys good?
Yeah.
You totally caught up or you're on your way?
I got it.
Yeah?
Yes.
You good? What are you guys doing? Are you about the next word out of St. Vision now? Yeah. It's kind of tricky. Did you guys, did that work out, that one that Alex uploaded, the version 5?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's good. Oh, nice. See? Teamwork. You guys good? You guys doing okay? People are doing, everybody's doing pretty good. You guys ready to move on? Do we need a break? 10-minute break? I need a break. Okay, it's 2 o'clock. Let's come back at 2:10.
Oh, you have it.
Just sit in. Let me ask you this. If you go to Yelp and you go to a restaurant, you type in Italian, you get a list of Italian restaurants, you click on a detail, what is the first thing that you look at in the detail of a restaurant in Yelp? Okay, rating, great. Pictures, great. Price, okay.
Menu.
Menu. What was that? Okay. So, we don't have a rating for our detail. We don't have a price. What do we have that they would be interested in looking at?
Address.
Okay, we got an address. Okay, that would be important. What about the items? Right? The stuff, right? So if somebody had a sale and then they took photos of all the items and then described them, we need to see the items themselves. Basically, if you're just pull the comparison to Yelp, the photos, basically, right? So there's a lot of different ways we can do this. So if I'm in the detail, okay, it says like sale, well it says the address, we said that, okay, so 9 to 14, I don't know, some kind of something boulevard. Some more information here. We have the main photo. Now, sometimes some people, they'll have these kind of photos. Okay, that's one way, and then we could have more information down here. What other information do we need? Oh, like the seller. So we need like the seller in the seller profile. Okay, so if I click here, it's going to take me to the seller profile. We need that. We need a share button, so we're going to need probably that's going to be at the top here. It could be also at the bottom, but let's just put it up here for right now. The share button is usually this thing here. Does that look familiar? Am I doing a good job doing the icon? So that's oftentimes the share button. The description, oh, that's a big one. So I need to put a bunch of text in here, like a whole paragraph of text. And probably there's going to be a more, because sometimes people write too much, and you have to truncate the text. So imagine there's a text block here, a text block there, and then directions. We need directions. So we'll probably have some button directions, okay? Alright, as you can see, I whiteboard really sloppy, so it's kind of my trade, my patent pending style. Alright, this part though is the part I'm concerned about the most. Can anybody come up with a different idea than this? What do you guys think? It doesn't have to be necessarily better, but what's just a different idea?
Tile grid.
Okay, tile grid, great. So maybe move this thing up here and then have these things come down all the way. So there's like a lot. Okay, that's great. That's one idea. What's another idea? Okay, let me suggest one. Another option, which is probably not a good idea. I like bad ideas too. You could say 281 items, and then it's just a caret, and then takes you to a detail that would then show you another list of all the items with like photos and then a description. So it's like you went from, this is how a lot of apps work guys, and I think that you're maybe seeing the pattern. You started from one list view of sales, right? This is your sales. Okay, this is a list view. You clicked on one sale and you went to the detail of the sale. Now this sale, remember that the entity relationship model? A sale has multiple items. So you could do it this way, where then you go from a detail into another list. That's a perfectly legitimate way to do it. But because these items are so important, we want to surface that content a little bit and not have it hidden behind here. Remember how I was talking about the Facebook problem? If we hide these items behind this text, the likelihood of getting really good engagement with people checking out the items is probably going to be quite significantly lower than if we employ this kind of thumbnail design. So these are all the kinds of strategies you have to think about in your product design, is what is important on this page, and if it's these items, obviously we want to probably go this kind of style a little bit more than this style where you have to click into another list. Alright, so what I want you guys to do is I want you to decide how you want to do this page. You have the requirements here. You're not going to, watch me do it. I want you guys to spend the next half an hour working on this page, and I'm going to walk around and talk to you guys and see if you need any help, okay? So let's get busy on this detail page for the actual sale, and then plug it in. You're going to start a new artboard, okay? This is a new artboard, so you need to change the title of the artboard. You need to export it out. You need to create a new InVision page to link to it. So you got quite a few items to do here. So let's get on it. Let's just do a couple of these, like that, and we need to have the title of this sale. Let me find some titling text here. Nothing really good here. Just for fun, I'm just going to grab this entire section here. See how this has got like a nice size for the title? It's also got a nice, subtitle here that I can probably repurpose for my needs. And it's also got this button here which we can turn into our favorite. So I'm just going to grab that entire section and just sort of, manipulate it for our needs. You guys, and just so you know, this right here, this is a detail page for an app. You guys seen this. You go to the list of the apps that you're looking for, you click on it. This is a detail screen for this app called Crossly, right? Oh, ouch. Hurt. So I'm just gonna grab that whole thing. Oh, you know what? I totally screwed up, by the way. See this thing right here? This is the new share button in iOS. So that's the new one, the brand spanking new one. So let's go ahead and grab that guy. Damn it. Right? Happens all the time. And let's just change it to black. But no need for the out. Okay, this is new since iOS 7 or whatever. Yeah, you know, to make it easy, let's just keep it like this. I mean, why not? These are kind of an odd size, but we can go that route for sure. But I need to grab this piece here. Looks like I need to sanitize this a little bit. That, we're gonna need this can be our favorite button. Heart or star? That's the question. Make it into a favorite, and just go with the text for now, maybe. You can always go back later and add an icon. Overlook. What's the zip code of Long Beach? 90215. So just to kind of let you guys know about the process, the phase that we're working with right now, we don't really worry about all the details of like how things look. I mean, honestly, we're doing more than what we really should be with like these lines and stuff like that. Because really what you want to do is just get the idea up so you can show it to people and have a conversation so you can click around. You know, later on in the next step where you start refining your wireframes, then you really start working on like, okay, does this need to be aligned to the top or to the middle, or does this button need to be not like an actual button, but you know, some other way to like it. There's a lot of different discussions that happen, you know, once you kind of get your first wireframe put together. You don't have to worry about every design element because it's just too much at this point, but I think you kind of get the point that the things that you see, the biggest part at this phase, just to make it clear, you have to make sure that everything that, all the features are represented in your wireframe. There's nothing worse than getting into a meeting with a product manager and you forgot to put some feature, like you forgot favoriting was supposed to be part of the application, and you forgot to put in some way to favorite it, and then the PM says, where's the favoriting? And then you're like, oh, I forgot, you know, and then like, you look like a dummy because you didn't get the basic feature into the wireframe. How that feature operates is another discussion, but I've seen it too many times myself and then also people that I've worked with. You get these people that are very detailed oriented and they pick up, if you miss something, they find it right away, and then you're kind of at a loss when it comes to fighting for the design because you showed yourself a little bit lax in the details because you forgot the fact that you need to put the seller link on here, right? So just some kind of like tips on how this process goes. Just make sure that every feature is represented. I decided that having the icon at the top left didn't make much sense because I would imagine that the way we'd want to do this is out on the list view, whatever the first item is that's in the detail, I would like to make that be the icon on the list here. So if that's the case, it doesn't make much sense to have an icon here, basically a thumbnail here, if that's going to be this coming from this image. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I went ahead and removed it. I think it looks like a little bit cleaner, more, it's going the right direction. Plus it makes more sense, obviously. There's nothing worse than when you see a design where the thumbnail is the same image as the larger detail thumbnail. Like that's obviously really bad design. So you gotta watch out for those kind of illogical decisions so you don't get caught making them yourself. How you guys doing? Does anybody need some help? You guys doing okay? Anybody? We're getting close to the end. So what would be cool is if you guys finished up your detail, and then go ahead and paste your InVision link inside of the Facebook group. Are you guys shy? Are you guys too shy to do that? No? It's just a wireframe. So I didn't have the number of items. I also didn't put the description in yet. So that's did that help you guys get started to go in the right direction?
Yes.
Okay, great. So don't forget about the description. Hey, one of the biggest things that you can do to learn is you guys should fire up Yelp and look at a detail of a restaurant. You're gonna see that there's actually not a lot of variety. It's like the structure is always the same. It's just depending on the functionality of the app, they mix these kinds of elements a little bit differently. It's really not rocket science once you kind of understand sort of the structure of things. So, by all means, open up Yelp and check it out. Open up Zillow would be another one, or Trulia. You guys ever checked out those apps? Those are apps that help you find like apartments or houses. It's very similar to what we're doing here with these sales. So check that out too. How's it going? You doing okay? Yeah? Alright, good. Yeah, you put the description in there now. How you doing? Section, we didn't get to that part obviously, but there's like so many apps that have feeds, you guys can learn about the feed categories. Lots of times there's different categories of a feed item, so you should learn about that. And maybe think about how, maybe if somebody buys something, it shows up in the feed, but how that would be different than, a sale is about to close in 6 hours item update. So there's all kinds of things like that to think about. What other section did we not get to? We got to the sales, the favorites. So the favorites is basically going to be a list of things. It's just going to be a list view of all the things that you checked. So it's very similar to the sales list screen, except it's going to have items in there instead of actual sale events. So it's not rocket science. You guys, I think with this exposure, you guys can keep running with it. Any other thoughts or comments about today? Yeah?
Oh, well, it's not about today, but I'm wondering what you're gonna be covering next time?
Okay, so the way that I have that planned as of right now is focusing more on the visual design part of this. So basically, what you consider like the graphic design of UI design. So graphic design is oftentimes concerned about communication and obviously uses color, image, type, layout. So we're probably going to focus on that stuff more next time. So the polishing part of UI design. There's a lot of things to consider, like the size of text the sizes of buttons. We didn't talk about all that. You know, you have to have your button sizes should be no smaller than 44 pixels tall. There's all kinds of like little details that we can get into, and I need to expose you guys to as far as when you actually build an interface. Once you've got the structure like we've got today, lots of things to deal with sizes and type-related issues. Great question. Anything else? Any other questions out there? Yes?
Regarding the behavior of for each page, do you recommend, I guess, following a same model that's familiar but tweaking it a little bit, or just going a lot more creative with the behavior?
What was the first part?
Hold on.
What was the first part of your question?
Like, going along with something familiar but just tweaking it a little bit, or going really creative?
Yeah.
Like different-
So, just so you guys can know, and that's a great question too. Most apps, especially mobile ones, the only ones that really drastically deviate from these design patterns that are outlined by Apple are games, right? Like if you go into like a game like Cut the Rope or whatever your favorite bathroom game is, you know, it's got like cartoon, you gotta turn it sideways. There's like, none of the UI stuff that we dealt with ever is found inside a game. It's all custom built. However, that being said, look at all the other apps. You're gonna see now a very common pattern. So my suggestion is that no, do not deviate. Learn the patterns that Apple's laid out. In fact, I'm gonna post something real quick to the Facebook page. There's a lot to still digest, and once you know, then you can start deviating from the norm. And there's actually a lot of flexibility once you know all the ingredients. So this here, this is called the HIG, Human Interface Guidelines, HIG. And what it is, it has this section called UI elements, right? So if I go here to the bar section, you can read all about like the status bar, okay? And it says status bar is transparent. When present, always appears at the upper edge of the screen. It goes into all the details just about this status bar. And then it says avoid putting distracting content behind the status bar, because nowadays the status bar is transparent lots of times. It says think twice before permanently hiding the status bar. You have an option in your app to hide it. Consider hiding the status bar and all other app UI while people are actively viewing full screens. That's kind of like if you're going into like a picture and you look at the entire picture and you're like manipulating it and zooming in and out, maybe hide it. So that's just for the status bar. This is the navigation bar section. They go into all the details about best practices. This is really important reading for any UX designer. Any UX designer worth his chops has already read this and digested it to at least a decent level. And then the toolbars. So I'm going to paste this in the chat, or sorry, not in the chat, in the Facebook page right now. Is this the right one? This is not the right one. Oops, no, I'm confused. So how do I get back to the page? Oh, I'm so confused. You know what it is? It's because Anastasia used the same header image both on the workshop and the group. That's the problem. But she was promoting workshop number 2, so I understand the marketing reason. Let me see. So I should probably go to my groups, right? You guys want to see pictures of Google?
There it is.
Oh, there's nothing. Nice. Awesome. All right, so. You know why I like UX design? Is because I get so easily turned around, so I'm like crazy about making things easy to understand. Okay, so that's the human interface guidelines. Alright, so that's about it for today. Any other questions? No? Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Yep, pleasure. Thank you, Alex.